So for anyone who's listening,
Yeah.
wait, is this like, yeah, this is a podcast where is, yeah, they're hearing me speak. I don't know.
Hey, welcome to Main Pod Girl, a podcast made by Popheads for Popheads. Every episode will be diving into all kinds of pop culture topics with some of our favorite artists and music commentators. I'm your host, AJ Marks.
And I'm your guest co-host, Riri, currently sick with a cold, but no amount of cotton or lemonade mouth would stop me from kikiing with the best.
And I couldn't be more stoked to introduce today's guest. You may know her as an actress with starring roles in Lemonade Mouth, Smile 2, Anatomy of a Scandal, and the remakes of Aladdin, Power Rangers, and Charlie's Angels. But there's a good chance you've also heard her sing in some of these movies. Well, what if I told you she was also making some of the best pop music of this year? What then? I can't be talking about anyone other than our newest main pod girl, Naomi Scott. Welcome to the show, Naomi.
I've already been soft launching and teasing. Like, y'all better be listening, Like, we were just in LA for the Grammys and, like, spreading the good word.
What you were spreading about the podcast?
No,
about your album.
About my album?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Wow, thank you. That is so kind.
I've been certifiably obsessed with this album. Like, I didn't know you were releasing singles. And then I got the full record and I was like, oh, okay, I'll listen to this while cleaning my room. And Naomi Scott, like, I didn't put two and two together. Like, I did, but, like, not before I got that email. And so I was like, cleaning my room, I was like, I'll have this on in the background. And I found myself fucking grooving to every song. By the time the second chorus would come on, I would know the words. And it's like, it's no skips. And so I've been literally telling everyone in the industry, Naomi Scott as the pop girl of 2026.
Wait, guys, are you serious? This is literally the coolest thing ever. I have not even, like, this is so crazy because it's only been my friends that have heard I've not yet spoken to someone who's outside who's listened. I mean, I feel like I'm just a bit in shock because it's kind of, I've not had this exchange yet.
Oh.
And I feel like for you guys, obviously, who are such like, well, not to quote
Literally
thing, but like
pop
pop heads,
heads.
that is let me put it like this. I've been so consciously wanting to remain in the space of not necessarily thinking about the external and still remaining in a place of making music in the right way that I can just kind of be in my own world doing, not looking to the left or the right, that I haven't yet had an experience like this. You're probably setting me up for an absolute, the fact that this is like the kindest response is I think I'm just a bit in shock because I also don't know what it is to other people. So that even the fact that you love pop music and that even I don't even know, I wouldn't even be able to tell you what this is to different people. Like it might be, I'm like, I don't know, maybe people might think this is like not really pop and a bit this, or maybe people that like, I don't know. And you think, oh, like who would you love to like love the album? And it's just cool when you meet people and you're like, oh, like I'd love if they're the types of people that I would love to like be into it. So I think that's very cool.
I think a lot of people don't know this about Popheads, but we're not paid to like do or say any of this. Like this is the love of the game. It's truly just a passion.
But I think that's probably why the community is so strong, though, isn't it? And probably why it's so culturally potent. And
Oh, she's cooking.
Love it. Oh, she's cooking. Culturally potent and just and I guess there's just a purity to the way that you guys operate, which is very admirable.
Well, let's talk about this album a little bit. Let's talk about the album title, right?
Yes.
F.I.G. Fig. Do you call it Fig or do you call it F.I.G?
Fig, okay. Yeah. But it was so funny yesterday on Radio 1. Charn Ellery was like, her upcoming, where is she from? Oh, fuck, I'm not going to do an accent. And she was like, and F.I.G. And I was like, oh, interesting. I was like, okay, yeah, F.I.G., it can run. But no, it's big. It's big.
Okay, so Fig. So it's called Fig, but it stands for Fall into Grace. Your middle name is Grace, and
Yeah.
you've talked about this album being a little bit of like a bell jar moment.
Yeah.
There have been so many like movies made kind of in that thing, like
Yes,
Look Both
yes.
Ways, and
Which you're talking about like, yes, conceptually you've got like sliding doors.
Sliding
You've got
Doors. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I knew that's what you were thinking of. Yeah. But then even a little bit more kind of tenuous link to that concept is like Worst Person in the World, which I think is like, I watch it and I go, yeah, that's not my experience, but I am her. And this kind of idea of having to choose a path, and obviously, you know, especially as women, but also everyone, especially in our generation, this kind of choice paralysis of, okay, all these different versions of my life and that kind of represent these different figs, and feeling like, well, if I take this one, then I'm kind of giving up this, and oh, I'm at a point in my life where like, okay, do I settle with this person? Okay, when do I have kids? But I also really like like, it's kind of that concept. And I think I was definitely watching a lot of those, or even like Everything Everywhere All at Once a little bit actually has a bit of that kind of alternate reality thing going on.
So like when I was it 16, 17, applying to colleges, I remember thinking like, I have equal interest in television and movies and film and all that kind of stuff, but I had never done anything in that world except for like some student film festivals. Meanwhile, I had like a whole fucking career in music. So when I was going into college, I was like, as much as I would love to go to school for TV and film production, I was like, I kind of already have my choice kind of made for me. Like I didn't want to like scrap all of that. So I went with that world. And then, you know, what's funny is it kind of circled back around and landed. I mean, it's not the same thing, but making podcasts, I kind of do think of them as like, this is like a little TV show in a way.
100%. Well, absolutely.
I didn't have that choice paralysis. I was like, okay, well, one of these I've already
Yeah.
I'm already.
You were very much ahead, starting so young, and yeah.
And I didn't want to. I thought it would be like foolish to kind of, you know, turn a blind eye at that. But I ended up somewhere kind of in the middle. Whereas you identify primarily as a musician, and you chose the acting route, and obviously that worked out for you. But now you're kind of ending up circling back around to the whole musician thing. So now your musician persona kind of is Gracie, and is like dyeing your hair red like a part of falling into Grace. Like, is that kind of...
Yeah, it absolutely is, but not because it was a decision that was like this idea that I had with the album and I'm going to dye my hair. The way that like my creative director and I talk about this album, and even just like the visuals and stuff and what we're doing, coupled with the fact that, you know, I'm signed to an independent label and wouldn't have it any other way. And with that, you know, you're doing 10 jobs, you're doing everything, there's a limited resources. Again, I think that is correct for where I'm at. Like, I never wanted to skip any steps of like building a richness and like a sound and a foundation that can only come with time. Like, I never wanted to like skip any of that. But we talk about girl in process, and even a part of this, everything is like girl in process, and it's and not wanting something to be too much like, I'm wearing this costume and this is what I'm playing right now and this is the character I'm playing. And also it not just being super lo-fi, like just me, Naomi. Like, it's kind of like a little bit of this hybrid of, I am trying on different things and I am kind of like in process, really. So, but then in terms of the music and acting, again, it's one of those things that I think, when I don't know about you, but sometimes when I talk to, you know, younger people, and it's quite amazing how, and kind of admirable how sure they are about what they want to do and how they're going to get there, right? And it's also this protectiveness of, this is who I am as an artist and that's what I'm doing, I'm sticking to that. And I just love that, right? It took, for me, it was a little bit like, it was like a fluke. I was singing in church, and there was a woman who, she was part of this band called Eternal, and she had a theater agency. She heard me singing. I was singing. Basically, it was this church like evening event on a Sunday, and it was at our local Baptist church, right? and it's giving like Peanuts on the Table vibes. And
Wait,
she was,
because I was
yeah.
discovered into the band through singing at a Christmas recital for my sister's guitar studio.
Oh my
So
gosh.
kind of that weird
I
same.
feel yes,
There's
there's
that
something.
synergy, yeah.
I feel it. I feel it. How old were you? You were really young though, right?
I was 10.
Yeah, you were
Yeah.
like 10. Yeah, I was maybe like 14, 15. Yeah, so yeah, similar.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, Nay, can you sing something like in between? I was like, what? I don't have any. My mum had to go home and get my backing track from when I downloaded the MIDI, the kind of bad karaoke version of If I Ain't Got You, Alicia Keys off of
Amazing.
LimeWire. Yeah, and it was like, when the MIDI is like da 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 da, like it's like so yeah, it was terrible. And so sung that. Kelly was there and she was like, "Oh, I have this agency," and she literally went to me, "Oh, don't worry, I know you can act." That was like one I'll never forget that she said that to me. She was like, "Don't worry, I know you can act." And so it's one of those things where you kind of are just like along for the ride. And in my head, I was always like, I'm gonna sing and act. Like that's what I'm gonna do. And I wasn't, again, I just wasn't overthinking it. I was going for but I did start off, there was this kind of like, I guess like pop writing group called Xenomania in the UK,
Mm.
and they wrote a lot of songs like Girls Aloud and the Pet Shop Boys, and I think they worked on a bunch of like the early One Direction stuff. And like the guy that ran it, he wrote Believe by Cher. Like that's his like
Incredible.
Insane.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What a
Crazy.
legacy.
It kind of is like you could just eat off that both literally and metaphorically. And so I basically would go there and like just learn how they wrote. Like they kind of wrote pop songs in quite an interesting way, and I kind of cut my teeth there a little bit. But then, got a job, like got this acting role in that took me to Australia. Like it was one of these things where again, I was just kind of like, yeah, this sure, and wasn't overthinking it. And I wish I could say that I was like, I knew, and then this was all part of the plan.
No,
But
but that's
girl,
how it went
like,
for me too. It was just like I was not interested. It was a rock band. I was not interested in rock music at the
right.
time. But I liked Guitar Hero. So I was like, okay, sure. Let's go for it. And then obviously I fell in love with rock music through that project. Even though it was a while, because I think I remember in my first thing I was like, can we cover some Black Eyed Peas? I was just insane.
There
There's
was so
no
much
way we would have
foreshadowing in that.
But also you can just see him like a young him, just very sincere, like, and also like, why are we not, guys? Like that's the natural. What are we doing?
Why are we
not
not covering Black Eyed Peas
Like,
in this rock band? Okay,
yeah.
so I'm gonna break your brain a little bit here. I am like super into this neuroscience podcast, right? And there was one episode where David Eagleman, one of the leading neuroscientists in the world, he's fucking awesome. He was talking about choices and how your brain kind of is not like on autopilot, but like there are certain things that like prompt actual choices and the rest you do instinctively. So if you're driving the same way to work, you're not actively making choices as much as you think that you are. Even if you're like, because you've done it before and you know that pattern. If you're having conversations with people, you're not, once you start to actively think like I did just now, once you start to actively think about what you're saying and the words that are leaving your mouth, and you're trying to think about them before they leave your mouth, you start stuttering. Because right now I'm not thinking about what I'm saying. I just know it to be true. And so it just comes out of my mouth like that.
Oh my gosh, that's gonna mess with me.
Yeah.
You know, like the butterfly effect, right? Like everything is on autopilot, but it's the active. You can only really make a butterfly effect with people's active choices that they're making.
And not everything is an active choice.
Yes.
AJ,
so
you're hurting my feelings.
He's hurting my head. I'm like, I'm not smart enough for this shit. Part of my journey is I didn't go to uni. So no, it's interesting you bring this up, because you're right. Because now I'm like, oh, what was an active choice? Like, what was an active choice, and what was, and also the album itself is, I think I went through a bit of a like 27-year-old quarter life crisis of decisions that I'd made really young that were like, whether it was, I got like, for example, I got married really young, like that's something that was I think I'm probably incredibly, you could call it luck or blessed or whatever, because when people are like, oh, but like when you know, you know. And I'm like, nope, I did not know. Like I was 20, I honestly, I knew something. I knew that this was, a great person, but like, you know, I feel like I'm very blessed that it worked out because even that, I don't know if I was like,
Oh, I just know you had Eternal Sunshine on repeat.
oh, I'm a big Ariana fan, me.
Like the how do you know when you're with the right person, like the intro. Oh
Like
my goodness.
exactly. And
Yeah.
also, I didn't know myself.
Mm.
But it doesn't, and that's not, and this is why I love, that's the beauty of like relationships and different types of relationships and people coming to relationships at different times, people having relationships that don't work out, but it kind of informs their next thing. And I think there's so many beautiful ways, but you're always mourning something. And that is the whole what my process with this album. And I think what was quite cathartic is the word, yeah,
Yeah.
for me was just mourning the versions of my life that I didn't like choose. And that's why there's a lot of like letting go, and there's a lot of like kind of going through those feelings, even if it isn't necessarily exactly my reality.
Just because things like are different now doesn't mean you don't still have to process those feelings and sort of heal from the way that all is.
That's exactly it. Even if you know that you have the best situation, you're with you're so happy with the decision that you did make, but it's sometimes it's like you still have to mourn the other versions of yourself. And I think that isn't, I don't think that's unromantic. I actually think that is quite beautiful. And yes, there's like melancholy attached to it, but I find it quite a fascinating thing. And we're all mourning something. The person that's with someone is looking at their single friend and going, oh, it's nice you can just kind of pop out and do what you want. And the single person is going, oh, it's nice that you've got like a bit of a warm body to, do you know what I mean? Like it's like
It's true.
you're
Yeah.
always mourning something, whether it's like there's so many I feel like all my friends are having kids right now. It's like
when I lived in London, I felt like I was always mourning the version of me that stayed in the US. And when I moved here, I mean, granted, I would live in London if I had the choice, but it's not up to me. It's up to the government. But like, yeah, it's like there's always going to be a part of me that's there. It feels like kind of going between alternate universes sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I completely get it.
I mean, not for a topic regression, but like AJ mentioned Eternal Sunshine. I think it's funny because I feel like an album that specifically talks a lot about, like current experience, but also there's some self-reflection on it.
There's levels to this shit. She's just the taste and the choices, like vocally, it's the way she just like it's just different, man. I don't know. It's crazy. I'm a big, big, big fan.
Like those videos of her doing the backing vocals for Positions
that we've all watched like 100 times.
Yes.
My YouTube algorithm just like every month is like,
so
here you
good.
fucking go. Here it is. I love that album. I really do. Supernatural is like, and do you know how I feel about that album? I think it has, in my opinion, for me personally, the best pre-choruses to any album I've ever heard. Like I think it's just like for me, it's like there's something about, I love writing a pre. Personally, I love a pre. I just love a pre-chorus. Yes. Those on that album, it's just so good.
Like the melodies in that album go crazy, but the way it makes me feel is like I can put it on and from top to bottom
you're like in it and you'll come out the other end.
Right. And that's exactly the way I feel about F.I.G. I just put it on top to bottom and let it go.
I think you actually might make me cry. I also think there's something about the fact that you started talking about Ariana and then like mentioned me in the same sentence that was like also just feels kind of
they're kind of like
crazy.
Saturn Return albums, Yeah, no,
you're actually, so actually, do you know what is really funny?
Mm-hmm.
Best Kind is one of those songs that I wanted to keep it really, you can project whatever you want onto that song.
Mm-hmm.
One of my best friends, a voice note that she sent me, she kind of says, what's better, to feel nothing or to feel everything? And that's something that she is, personal to her journey. And that line, I think there's something similar in Eternal Sun. I think there's a line that's similar. And it's so funny because, you know, when you're like, I do think sometimes things are in the air. It was also hilarious because I was like, of course. I was like, of course, there's like the same line.
People who have never heard a Naomi Scott song have probably heard you sing, whether they grew up with Lemonade Mouth or the Aladdin remake, or even if they're a horror fan, you literally played a pop star in Smile 2, which we saw together in theaters, by the way, a couple years ago.
Wow, we did. Wait, so when you listened, did you when you listened to the album, did you know it was me from the movie?
For me, it was separate, and then I was like, wait, and then I connected.
I knew you were an actor and that I had seen you in things, but I just couldn't remember what those things were off the top of my head.
Oh, nice.
And
then
afterwards, I was like, oh, yes, of course. I've seen several of your movies. I've not seen Aladdin, though, so I will watch that tonight because I was going to watch it before this, and I was like, maybe I'll watch it after.
Oh, Aladdin is one of the ones I love. It's kind of like big and colorful and brash and a bit like, you know, the costumes look very flammable, like they could set on fire at any time, but like it's kind of the vibe of it. It's, you know, and I have a lot of love for that movie. That movie I do really love. And then Smile also is probably my favorite thing that I'd like.
Well, how does it feel to now assign like a real musical identity onto a recognizable voice, a voice that people have heard even if they haven't realized they've heard it yet?
So it's interesting. That's a very interesting question. What's funny is that I was working on the album and then Smile came about. Like I literally was I wrapped a movie. I went to Norway for another stint of, you know, working on the album. And then I was going straight to New York to shoot Smile. So it was like, what was interesting is that I was in the middle of working on my songs. And then I was like, but when I was in Norway, like I had a Zoom with Ida Rose, who was like a writer producer that wrote a bunch of the songs on the EP. And we kind of connected and I was like, oh, and, you know, listening to the songs with her demo, with her voice, she was the blueprint for me. Cause I was like, oh, I get it. We're doing this like croaky white girl pop thing. And I was like, great, like, no, but like, great. I was like, yeah, I love this. Let's lean into that. Cause it's not like like, I was like, so I literally put on, like, I'm fully putting on this like voice and doing this whole thing. And I'm singing in American accent.
It sounds nothing like, well, when are you going to play a British character? Cause I feel like all of your
By the way, AJ, trust me, trust me, that's all I want. I want to work on I want to be a bit like,
I want like a classic British film.
Oh my gosh, AJ, yeah.
You know, like
that's what I want.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
When it happens, manifesting. We're both AMC A-list and we see lots of movies together, so we will be there.
Guys, I think that's so fucking cool. I love that. You know, to put it really simply, I'm playing characters in all these movies, right? So therefore I'm like, and weirdly, the only song that I still feel like, oh, I love, like I would actually sing that song is She's So Gone.
I knew you were going to say that. I was like, when you said weirdly, I was like, that would be the weirdest pick. Because that is also so different from what you're doing. No, but that's a great fucking song.
But sonically, not the way it is. But when I sung it at Lollapalooza, it really felt nice. I was like, oh, this feels good. Like sometimes you sing a song and it just feels right in your vocal cord. It feels like, oh, this is kind of easy, but in a good way. Like, and I kind of sung it how I would sing like the Bliss or whatever. I kind of did it more like that.
Can we talk about the Wish We Never Kiss? Favorite part of the whole album.
You're singing my song to me. This is so cool. I need to act way cooler than this. I'm not being cool enough. Wait, oh no. I can't believe it. This is so cool. Oh my gosh. That was the coolest. I cannot believe that. That was the coolest moment. Oh my gosh. It's like, well, that was yes. Actually, fun fact, that is that's just my vocals from my demo, right? You can kind of hear that. So those are like, so sometimes I like to, so my first day, like when I'm by myself and I'm like recording an idea and I'm in my own little like boothy thing. And obviously the vocals they're not as clean and but like, it's nice sometimes to add those textures in. For example, Bound, a lot of those BVs are just BVs that I did at home on my own because it just has, and then when I send the stems over, like the vocal stems to Lido, you know, it depends. Sometimes I'll have them with the effects. because I really like the way the room sounds and the reverb that I chose, or whatever. And then other times I'll just send him like the dry. But yeah, so those are from my original demo version. So
you're a vocal production girly, because I am too. That's like the main
I mean,
thing.
I do not claim to be, expert or anything.
I mean,
but
I'm no Lido either, but like, it just...
We're no positions, Ariana.
There were no positions, like, Ariana Grande.
No, but I love textures, and I'm playing with textures and character and understanding. So, for example, I do get nerdy with that stuff. So like, I'm obsessed with like, obviously like stacking, right? And it's like, I mean, I think it has a lovely end result. I love breathy stacked vocals. There's something that you get with that, but it's also very specific because it's literally like, how much breath do you use to how much voice do you use? Because if it's too breathy, you'll know this, AJ. Like if it's too breathy, you don't get the notes. So then it is just texture. But then if it's too much of the note, you're not getting the feeling. So it's like, sometimes it's all about just the balance of breath and note. But a lot of the time I might do like 4 stacks, and then my last one it will almost just be breath. But I'm always like, throughout the process of like, tracking this album, like I'm always nearly fainting, because when you're doing just like
you can hear it at the end of the song.
You're
rolling out that
song, yeah. But like, listen, so even some of the other songs, it's like, your girl is just breathy sax, man. It just takes, because if you think about it, you're just like breathing out like the whole time, and you're like, you get kind of dizzy doing it. But I think that's the kind of character that I want, and I think it brings warmth, and it fills in those gaps, and it makes things feel warmer and like a warm hug. I think there's also like a more sensual feeling that you get with that type of vocal tracking.
When you get like pins and needles in your face, like in your kind of nose area right there, and it's like that warm, prickly feeling. I don't know. It feels good to be out of breath sometimes.
Oh,
I
no,
guess
100%.
Is what I'm saying.
I recut the album 3 times. Wow. Like, so, first it was, I wanted to find the right mic. We wanted to figure out what the vocal chain was. And also there's something about these songs. I really wanted to learn how to sing it so that it felt like then it was a part, like an extension of me, because they're quite hard songs. Although they sound maybe easy, or they sound like they're actually quite hard to sing. And so I almost have to like learn. I almost like have to learn how to sing them. And also it means that now when they're in my muscle memory in a way, that when I perform live, I also wanted to make sure, like, I really want this to sound like the record, and I really want it to sound even, like the record, and then even then some, a little bit extra. Like that was really important to me. So I think actually the process of actually having to cut it that many times, I think ultimately helped it make it feel more natural in terms of like, the performance.
I have a quick question about Popheads. So they loved the Skye Riley songs on
really?
And like that whole thing when that came out.
Yeah, sure. That's so cool.
And I was curious because I know there was this huge marketing campaign where they were like Skye Riley, and everyone was like, "Who is that?" Right? Like because they didn't know it was movie promo at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember like everyone was like, I guess they're launching a new pop star, like as though that's something you can just like do these days.
Yeah, like you just plant someone and you're like, all right, launch.
Yeah. But they're like, they're launching a new pop star. Like they're not showing her face, but her name's Skye Riley. And it's like, there's all these billboards everywhere. And like, it was like this big thing.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay. So I was going to ask you what that was like for you, but it sounds like you didn't even know.
Did they just do it without your involvement?
Oh, yeah. No, the marketing, like they have their ideas, and
it worked. People really liked it.
Yeah, sure. No, I saw what they were doing, the ideas that they were doing. I didn't know that, like,
it was this big mystery for weeks.
No, yeah. I didn't know that.
I think there's a similar level of interest in Skye Riley's songs as there was to Ali's songs in A Star Is Born.
Oh, and F.I.G is kind of like Joanne, too, if you think about it, because Joanne's her middle name, Lady Gaga's middle name.
Oh, yeah, of course it is. That's a good point.
I know that, like, you essentially met Lido and you just shot your shot.
100%. Just shot my shot. With Lido, it was like, again, I just think no one could do it for me or come up with an idea or be like, oh, we're going to put you in. I'd had that a little bit. And I think I was just like at a place where I had these really cool demos, some of which were just like my first day demos, some of which I'd brought and like cultivated with some of my collaborators, Gabe and Daphne, were amazing. Who am I like? Oh, I love those guys so much. They're incredible. And so we were kind of also, it became like our baby. And then it was about, okay, we've got these seeds. And Gabe's also like a sick producer. It was then about, okay, who is the person to help build this soundscape? Like we have the songs. I listened to Forward, the Jordan Ward record, and Lido had executive produced that record, and it's so good. And it's interesting because it's not a direct comp, or it's not necessarily like, oh, this is the sound that I want, because it's not just, that was very kind of like all R&B, but there was something about the kind of world that he'd created and the cohesion and the kind of like, he had just like the right amount of interesting things going on, but still like serving the song and blah, blah, blah. So I just DM'd the guy. I was like, yo, I was like, I think you're sick. Here's a Dropbox of like demos. You
Here's
interested?
the Google Drive.
Now I'm like, damn, like, girl, you were just out here sending a Dropbox thing. And then basically he was like, yeah, do you want to get, he was like, these are sick, do you want to get on a call? And I was like, sure. We FaceTimed. He turned out he was living 5 minutes down the road from me. Literally like the next day or some, or a couple days after, we got in and I bought in Bliss, the song Bliss. And it was like, and then the rest is like.
So that was the first song that, okay.
Oh, that's the first song that was produced by Lido.
Yes.
So like, as in it was already a song. Mm-hmm. And then that was the first one that was like produced out. So like, and the interesting thing about Bliss is like the first day production is it's so close to that first day. Like there's tiny tweaks, where there's something like Losing You went through, it went through so many lives.
I can see that for Losing You, because that really feels like, that really feels like a single. That really feels like it has those layers that like it takes time to build.
That was the first song that I wrote though for that. Like as in,
really?
That was the first song. So funnily enough, that one was it was the cornerstone, because I came into the session and it was one of those, it was basically like the antithesis of like the pop rooms that I'd like been put in. It was like walk in, first time I meet Gabe, one of my collaborators, first time I meet Daphne, one of my collaborators, and they're not like in the thing. They're like, she's like a Joni Mitchell baby, comes in with her ukulele. I was like, all right, here we go. We've got, and Gabe is like this, he's just like this mad scientist of it. Like, but I'm in there and I was like, I had this idea that I had on Logic, and I basically had, does your heart grow fond of the distance from me, because your shoulder gets colder the closer you get to her. And I had the hook. I'm losing you, and I know it.
Well, I know in our chat earlier you had said that you like weren't really sure if we'd consider the album pop, but I mean, to my ears, I love a whole big range of all sorts of music, but I have always been especially fond of like 90s soft pop, and that's how it reads in my ears. And I don't know if that was, what you went in looking for, or if that's just what came out, but you've even got the aesthetic down with the haircut and the album cover. That is so quintessential. Like, tell me a little bit more about what landed you there.
I wanted it to feel, I think my intention was for it to feel like nostalgic, but not necessarily like wearing the costume of the era.
Right.
So I love that you said that, because, I think there's a bit of, 90s and 80s going on. And I like that it's, I'd like to think again. And I also, people can feel what they want from it. And I like to switch it up in terms of, even when it comes to visual versus what you're hearing, and maybe like the visuals feel quite fresh and but like it's not, I'm not wearing a Prince-esque like thing. And I'm not like we're doing 80s or doing like, oh, I wanted it to have the feeling of nostalgia, but not necessarily, but it still have a freshness to the production. And I think that's what Lido does really well, where it's like it doesn't lean too far that it's like, oh, this is like just plucked from that time, or we're like recreating something from a specific era, but 100% you can, hopefully hear and feel the references. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Oh, I do be hearing. Yes.
Okay, lovely. So that's why I love that you said that, and I appreciate that. That's really, yeah, that was my intention.
Awesome. That's what I got from it.
And I feel like we've probably come to the last part of our show, which was the top 5 that we prepared.
You guys.
So I'll start. Mine are a little basic, actually.
No, basic's fine.
Except for my number 1. But no, when I was making this list, I was just like, I went through all my most streamed albums, right? And I was just like picking them off of that. And then I kind of reordered them a little bit just based on like, revisitability and
Yep. No. That's exactly what happened with me.
Yeah. And then and you know what? The list I ended up with, I was like, wow, these are all like really popular albums. So I'll just start. My number 5 is Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa.
Oh, that's actually a great one. Yeah.
I probably would have had Radical Optimism above this one, but I think because I remember in the moment I was like, there's documented evidence on this podcast where I say Radical Optimism I think I like more as an album than Future Nostalgia. I just think I visit Future Nostalgia more. It's Future just so good. It's album. So good, and I just feel like number 4 is Brat by Charlie XCX. I have technically listened to Crash more, but Brat is just so, it's so nuanced in a way that pop music doesn't often get to be on like a main scale. I just think there's nothing beating like The Girl So Confusing, Sympathy Is a Knife, like just the level of nuance that were in the singles. It's just awesome. And then you have the like Sympathy Is a Knife remix with Ariana, or like the Spring Breakers remix with Kasha. It's just so good. Number 3 is 21 by Adele, because that is truly that album. You could have told me that album came out in like 1961 and I'd be like, yeah.
There was a cultural shift as a result.
That's one of those albums that just like, I don't care how long it's been, like those songs still fucking hit.
Absolutely.
Like they're fucking classics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Number 2, It's Not Me, It's You by Lily Allen. That album was huge for me and learning a British accent when I was a kid. Obviously, I lost it when I actually moved over. It was your Peppa Pig. Well, I lost it when I moved over to the UK because obviously you meet people from all these different places in the UK, and then your accent becomes like a jumbled mess. So I can't do it anymore. But I used to be able to do Lily Allen's accent. I love that album so much. It's so quintessentially British. Like that and Brat, I think, are just some of the most British albums. You know what I mean? Just in their candor and their humor. And I'm like a huge fan of British humor. So, my number 1 is my one, like, more out there pick, and it's Sweet Dreamer by Will Joseph Cook.
I have not.
Color me ignorant, I guess.
No, I love this. Now I can go listen.
It's pop, but it's like that indie pop. He's like an independent artist.
Hits in ways that you can't explain. That's why I love it.
And I can sing it. It's in my range, which is great.
And it's in your range. You're like, really? It's just that it's in my range.
Like whenever I sing your songs, I have to sing them down an octave because I'm like you said, they are tough songs to sing even for people with voices that are up there. I'm obviously not one of those people. Not a countertenor. Anyway, Riri, you want to go?
That's a great list, AJ.
Absolutely. So my list, I didn't necessarily base it on streams, but I definitely built it on impact and revisitability and just
we're gonna make that a word.
Cultural iconography.
Yes.
Revisitability, yes, because Popheads is all about that. Yes, exactly. How much they permeate the brain,
Okay.
My 5th is actually Crash by Charlie XCX because I love her doing pop. Like, I have been on the Charlie train for a really long time. I've seen her a bunch of times, but Crash is the one that always hits for me. I think there's a beautiful blend of silly and her making fun of pop music, but also she did it so well. My fourth is Ghost in the Machine by Sting and the Police. So like that album, I would hear the singles on the radio in the middle of nowhere on the radio station that would only play hits, and people would call in and request things like, because of course that album came out much before I was born. And they would call in and request and the whole thing. And I am just, every breath you take, every little thing she does is magic. I mean, even Zenyatta Mandata is just, it kills me every time. So love.
Wait, question for the Sting experts.
Yes.
Is his name Sting because he's part of the police? I've always wondered.
That's
like,
a great
is
question.
there a connection there? Like a sting operation from the police?
Wait, that is so funny.
I don't actually know. Apparently it says his bandmates thought this sweater he wore made him look like a wasp, so they called him Sting. So my third is actually Delirium by Ellie Goulding. That album colored my college years in ways that I could never articulate.
Wait, which was that her first one? No, sorry.
Wasn't the first one?
No, I think her first one was Lights.
I loved Lights.
Yeah, and then Delirium has On My Mind.
Do you know what? I banged that song. I've got you on my mind. I'm thinking of somebody. Who produced that? I'm intrigued. You think you know that? Like, wait, let's see who produced that. Let me see who produced that.
I think Max Martin produced that.
I knew it was Max Martin. Yeah. I knew it was.
Yeah.
I should have just gone for it.
It's one of my favorite Max Martin songs.
Oh, and Ilya wrote. Sarvan wrote that. I know Sarvan. This all makes sense. Ilya, sick writer. Sarvan, sick producer.
I want to have Sarvan on the podcast at some point.
You should. I'll tell him.
Oh, period.
Yeah, yep. You're gonna be the new. You're gonna be the new publicist right for this. Oh my god, insane.
He absolutely should. 100%.
Love. And my number two is Take Me Home by One Direction, because that album was so formative and Zayn hadn't left the band yet. And
he's probably thinking about it.
Are there there'll be singles obviously that I'll know like from that, right? What's on that album?
So that album is the one where they're in like the phone booth. It's that cover.
Oh,
is that like one of their first? Let me see. I'm gonna see.
That's their second one.
That was 2012, so I think it was their second one, and it's got like She's Not Afraid and like Rock Me.
If that is Kiss You?
Kiss You, yes.
Oh, that's a fucking banger.
It has Live While We're Young, Little Things. Like it's like that quintessential 1D album when they were still like
it's like their
children. yeah. Well, I love 4 and
no, but I mean like commercial peak. Like that was when people.
Oh, that was when they were like the boys. Like that's number 2 for me because that was formative and I love it to this day. I still stream it all the time. And then my number 1, I took a liberty here because it's like half British and half American, but Rumors by Fleetwood Mac.
Okay.
I was gonna go. Rumors was okay.
Well, then anyway, that's one off of your list, so that's
no,
great.
But it kept going back on, like as in, that's great. I'm glad you said it. And by the way, I also was like, this should. I was ready to fight the corner of like it is British.
It is British.
So I might even change it as I go.
And that's your truth.
And that's my truth. We're gonna start with Essex. We're gonna start with Essex Honey, and that is Dev's latest album, and it means so much to me on all the levels. I'm from London, originally from a place called Hounslow, and that's where I grew up, and then moved to Ilford area, which again is like you would not go there. The only other person who's from Ilford is Dev Hynes, and yeah. And that's how I made him be friends with me, because I literally said, one day I'll be friends with Dev Hynes because we're both from Ilford. And that is actually what happened. And then I forced it. And it's one of those things where he genuinely is one of my favorite artists of all time. Like it's not a shtick. It's not like, oh my gosh. And he's like one of my favorite artists. It's like genuinely, oh my gosh, the 5 albums thing. I was like, if I was being truthful, 3 of them would be his albums. 3 of them would be his 3 albums. So anyway, I met Dev just before he started working on this album, and a lot of it is his roots and his mum and the kind of process of grief and losing his mum. And it's like, I just love this album. I also have my vocals are there somewhere buried deep on one of the songs. Because of course I was like, I need to be on this album. It's a fall of fallacy. waiting at your window in the corner, vivid light. So anyway, but it makes me cry, this album. When he first played it to me, I literally just bawled. Like I think it's the most beautiful thing ever. I'm just like so obsessed with it. It's and then like Countryside, the song. Anyway, it's one. If anyone hasn't listened to it, go listen to it. It's incredible. Essex Honey, Blood Orange. Then we're gonna go. Oh, what do we do? Do we do In Color or do we do LP1? In Color,
Yeah.
Jamie XCX. Jamie XCX.
You wait. I did this last week on the podcast with Leland when I said Ali XCX and I said, wait, I meant Ali X.
Oh, Jamie XCX.
Jamie
so
XX,
funny.
yeah.
Oh, Jamie XX. He probably gets that a lot now, I reckon. I think it's just, yeah, I just think it's a fantastic album. Then I'm gonna go, do you know what? I really love, I'm a big 1975 fan, and I love being funny in a foreign language. I think that one, weirdly, because there's brief inquiry into online relationships, but actually the one before it was very like tight and very just like there was no, I would never skip. It was like I was just on the ride, and I think the use of like more of the acoustic kind of feel, it was like felt a bit warmer, and it was like a bit of a warm hug. So I go back to that album a lot. That's the thing. I'm gonna go with Hounds of Love, Kate Bush.
Classic.
It is a masterpiece. It has my favorite Kate Bush song on it, which is Cloud Busting. It's like haunting and Celtic, and there's all sorts going on. There's like she has this like Scandi, or like I don't know whether no, they're like this Georgian male choir at some point. She's going like it's the album that I'll go to if I like want to be inspired. Do you know what I mean? And if I want to think out, if I'm like stop thinking inside the box, it's like you go listen to Kate Bush. And then because I said I was going to be true to myself, it's another Blood Orange album,
Yes.
and it's Cupid's Deluxe.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, maybe I should swap out being funny maybe because LP1 at the time was very, and it stands up because I'm also like, okay, I might change. I might go, okay, I'm going to change. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Sure.
I'm going to go Essex Honey. I'm going to go In Color, Jamie XX. I'm going to go LP1, Twigs, because again, Pendulum, like that song in particular, was very, the haunting, the vocals, the deconstructed production, the softness, but the melody, like all of it, I was very like eye-opening for me. And then I'm going to go Hounds of Love, Kate Bush, and then I'm going to go Cupid's Deluxe. Cupid's Deluxe was just at a period of time. I just remember that period of time so well. I remember falling in love with that album. I remember watching the music video for You're Not Good Enough and just being like, this is so fucking cool, because it's just like a little bit off. And that's what I love about Devon. It's like again, I love when I'm watching something and it's not about it being like perfect. It's kind of the space in between, and there's an intrigue about it and you can't stop watching it. And it's like there's choreography, but it's not about being the best dancer in the world. It was just like so interesting to watch, and I was just captivated by it. And it felt like a space that I wanted to like occupy myself. And I think he's obviously one of my biggest inspirations. And then you've got him and Caroline all over that album together.
Chosen.
And that's not Chosen.
Thank you so much, Naomi, for joining us, and thank you to Noah for the theme music. This podcast and all of us here at Popheads are in support of the fight for trans rights. You can click the links in the episode description if you're interested in donating or learning more. Bye, y'all.